Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eyes on the Ball. This is episode 19. Episode 19. One more episode closer to 20. So, playoffs have started. We had the play-in match during the week. If you follow the TikTok, you would see my predictions. I was like 1 for 6. I was 1 for 6. I think I had the Hornets being Miami. Every other one was like cooked. Or was it 1 for 6 or 1 for 4? It was 1 for 4. The initial matchup with Hornets and Heat, um, I mean, it does make sense. Heat have their pick, so it was good for them to lose, honestly. Same thing with the Warriors and the Knicks. Even though they won their first matchup, I'm glad the Warriors did lose too, because, they have their pick as well. And it definitely seemed like this might be the end of that trio, for the Warriors: Curry, Green, and Kerr. Curry and Green probably will stay, but I think they were saying that Kerr might leave. He might stop coaching. And so, yeah, it's going to be a pretty devastating breakup because it's such a long tenured trio. Obviously, the Magic won, and then they're playing the Pistons, and the Hornets lost. What was the other team that won in the East? 76ers won their game. And then in the West, the Suns won their game, and the Blazers won their game. But I wanted to ask y'all, how do y'all feel about the play-in? Because honestly, when it was first introduced, it made sense. And back in 2019, 2020, the play-in activated when, I got my notes here to, be a little bit more punctual and factual. The requirement for the play-in tournament was the 8th seed needed to be within 4 games of the 9th seed, or the other way around. The 9th seed had to be 4 games within the 8th seed. But, I mean, this season, the Clippers were only above the Warriors by 5, and the 8th seeded Suns had 8 more wins than the 10th seed Warriors. So, obviously it goes past the rules, or at least the requirements when it was first formed, the play-in tournament. But I really don't know how I feel about it. I feel like, honestly, it does more harm than good. Obviously, it is like mad entertaining and it is kind of interesting to see, and kind of, I guess, hope. For example, like if you're the 10th seed, then you could fight your way into the playoffs against the 1st seed. Make it to the 8th seed and fight your way to go to play the 1st seed. But at the same time, it's like, I think the talent disparity between the 1st seed and 8th seed right now is so, at least in the West especially, like, it's so vast to where, like, I feel like there's no point in even having the play-in tournament in the first place for records that aren't close. I think it's a waste of time for the teams that actually played hard during the regular season. Like, for example, again, the Warriors were like the worst. The Warriors had Curry injured for like 2-3 months, and they stayed like the 10th seed the entire time. But the 11th seed was so far ahead, or so far behind, that it didn't matter that the Warriors kept on losing these games. They were going to be the 10th seed regardless, and then they would have to play the 9th seed anyways for the play-in. So I guess it gave them a chance. But again, it's like to get into the playoffs. But again, it's such a humongous, just a level of talent, but different level of talent between the 1st and the 8th seed. And so, to me, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I think it was a waste of time. And not only that, but they did those tournaments and everything, and the seeding stayed the same. The Suns stayed the 8th seed. The Blazers stayed the 7th seed. Actually, I think that one did change. I think that one flipped. Because did it? Did it flip? I don't think that one flipped, actually. I could be wrong. I know in the East it didn't change. The 76ers say the 7th seed, and the Magic say the 8th seed. So like, you know, they went through like that stressful ass tournament for no reason. Like they just changed, they kept their spot anyways. And so I don't know. I think again, in my opinion, I feel like it's not like it's fun. It's fun hoops for sure, but it's just I don't know. Like the Hornets versus Magic game was fucking like incredible. Was it Magic? No, the Hornets versus the who the fuck did they play again? Who did they play? Fuck, I don't know. The Hornets. All I know, the Hornets game was incredible. That was one of the best games I've ever watched in my life, and I think one of the best playing games of all time as well. But again, they were never in the top 8 seed. They had an incredible run, but then they ended up losing anyway. So it was like, you know, like what's the point, right? Yeah, it's just wasn't fun, wasn't cool. But um, not only that too, but a huge thing that most people don't really pay attention to or realize is that at least for the West Conference, I don't know about the Eastern Conference, but the last playing game, and this happened last year too. The last playing game is a Friday night. To get the 8th seed, right? Friday night, like super late at night. Usually ends like around 11 p.m. Eastern, maybe 12. The winner of that team has to go take the plane like right after the game to the next location that they're playing against, the team that they're playing against. Have that one full day of rest and then play the next morning like at 1 p.m. Eastern time against the first seed. Like we had to do it we had to do it last year against the Suns. I mean the OKC. The Grizzlies had to do it last year against OKC. We beat the Mavericks. I think right after the game, we went to the buses, went to the airport to go to OKC. Not only that, but I think they actually had they had like some turmoil or something, or like a delay. So it took even longer than like usual to get to OKC. And then they had to play the next morning, basically, once they landed. Which like was horrible. And then the same thing with the Suns this time. They played that game, went straight to the airport, went straight to OKC, got their asses whooped. Like curb stomped. But again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, again, I think all of that shit goes into it for me in terms of like how I feel about the play-in tournament. It is entertaining. It is fun hoops. I don't mind that it happens, but I think they should go back to the requirement that it had to be in order to go to it. And I also don't think the 10th seed should be included in either. I think it should be 8th or 9th to fight for the 8th spot if the teams are close, if the records are close, that's it. Or if the record is close between 7th and 8th, maybe you can do it. Like if they're tied, then you could do it. But I mean, if the 7th seed is a win above the 8th seed, then like to keep them as the 7th seed, there's no reason to play a game to determine their 7th seed. They just played 82 games to determine that. And I do agree with people who say like, you know, like if you win enough games to be the 8th seed, then you should have no complaints about if you have to play against a 10th seed, you know, like twice in a row or whatever. But it's like they just played all 82 regular season games to you know, to be the 8th seed. Like at that point, there's no point in trying to like be the 8th seed or like anything like that. Like I think like at that point, if you're gonna be in the playoffs no matter what, if you're between 7 and 10, then what's the point other than like having an easier, I guess, you know, path, which is like true. But again, I think honestly, again, it shouldn't be 7 to 10. I think it should be 8 to 9 if the records are close, and that's it. That's in my opinion. But again, playing games are amazing. Follow the TikTok. I've been posting. My playing predictions were there. But we're not here for that anymore. We're here for the playoff predictions. Now, I wanted to try to get this a little bit before the first games, but every team has played so far And honestly, it helps me cheat a little bit to see which teams I really fuck with or which teams I actually think will win. Um, there's some teams that I'm actually really excited for in this matchup. Usually, the first round matchups are not too entertaining, but they could be entertaining. And for some of the games, I'm actually super geeked for. Honestly, I think every matchup these quarterfinals are gonna be like pretty interesting, I think, honestly. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm gonna go East first, just because I have less to say about the East. Because y'all know me by now, I'm a Western Conference fan. Anyways, so first, I'm gonna bring up the matchup that I have the least to say about: the Celtics versus 76ers. So I have the Celtics in 5 or 76ers in 7. I think walking into the season without Embiid was a huge indication as to what was going to happen in the postseason anyways. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey has been great for the team, and, during the regular season, it almost became the point where people thought he was like the number one option for the team, like for sure. But, after, I know he did have an injury, which definitely fucked him up a lot. But after his injury, he came back and he was not playing as good as he needed to be playing. Maxey in the past 34 games from the regular season, when the regular season ended, his points dropped from 30.9 to 25.5. His true shooting percentage dropped from 61.2 to 55.9. And the biggest drop, his 40.9 3-point shooting on 9.2 attempts dropped to 31.6 on basically 8 attempts. That's a humongous fall off for that player, especially as the first option. And it sucked because he was playing at an MVP level, and I think he was kind of disproving that that small guard topic of conversation. But he came back from the injury; he was not the same player, and I think that's a very huge limiting factor for the team, the 76ers. Of course, they have Paul George, who I think has been playing pretty decent from after his suspension. VJ Edgecombe, at the end of the day, he's still a rookie, even with how good he is in the clutch as well. But, these are all limiting factors, and unless Tyrese Maxey is able to, return to form, the only other way that I can see the 76ers being able to actually win this series is if they essentially keep every game close and leave it all to the clutch, because I think Philly is one of the best clutch teams in the league. VJ, as a rookie, is one of the best clutch players in the league. I posted this stat in one of the predictions, but VJ Edgecombe has a 21.1 plus net rating in the clutch, and the only player above him is Shea. Everybody else is like whatever, but like those two are top 2 in the clutch in terms of net rating. And so, and also Tyrese Maxey is also pretty good in the clutch as well. But yeah, I think honestly, if Philly wants to win, they should play Bona more. The offense does drop, but the defense is what's needed, especially in the paint. Obviously, again, the Celtics are just extremely good at 3-point shooting anyways, and being able to, score off their actions. So it may not matter regardless if Bona's on the court getting more minutes, but I do think if you put Bona on the court more, hope for, less paint points for the Celtics, and just make it a shootout between, the shooters, and if Maxey's able to, again, go back to form of his shooting, and if VJ is to be able to be consistent with his shooting as well, then I do think this could be a game. This, again, it could be something the 76ers could win. But, again, Celtics in 5 regardless. Next matchup, we got the Cavs versus the Raptors. I don't watch most of these two teams a lot at all, especially the Raptors. I just don't watch the Raptors like that. So I don't have much to say about them as well. But I do have basically the same thing. Cavs in 5 or Raptors in 7. I think this is going to be a offensive versus defensive series. Cavs have short guards who can all shoot. D-Mitch, Harden, and Max Strus, who just came back, and they all basically shoot high 30s, while averaging almost 7 attempts a game at minimum. So, again, like that team has always been this offensive star power. When they traded away Garland for Harden, obviously it was a win now move, and I do think I do think Harden and Mitchell are pretty good together as well. They're extremely good on the pick and rolls. Harden has always been good on the pick and rolls, and Jared Allen obviously has always been experienced in it with Garland, but having somebody who's obviously healthy, and I would say is a better shot creator than Darius Garland for sure, even at this age. I think Harden is a better shot creator. It's a big change, and it's also a big upgrade, and I think that the offense is going to be too much for the Raptors, even though they have one of the best defensive wing rotations in the league. I think those guards are just extremely fast and extremely good at passing the rock to their bigs, that it's going to be hard for the wings to kind of keep up to pace. I did have that it quickly came back. Maybe they could make it interesting. I do think his speed is something that the Cavs defense will be kind of hard to get kind of contained, because I don't think the Cavs have really good defenders anyways, other than Evan Mobley. Obviously his rim protection and stuff. So yeah, I think if he comes back, could make it interesting. That's why I put Raptors in 7. But realistically, I'm more Cavs in 5. Next matchup in the East, the Knicks versus Hawks. Now, to me, I love this matchup. I think this is like a fire culture matchup. I think it's always dope to see two big Eastern cities go head to head like this. It's just super dope. I think the Knicks, anytime they match up against anybody else, is gonna be super dope in the playoffs, because Knicks playoff experience is just fire. I have Knicks in 5 or Hawks in 6. Now, Hawks in 6 is honestly like a stretch. I think it's Knicks in 5 if anything, but I do have Hawks in 6 if the Hawks win. So main thing I put was that Cat will and always will be the X factor for the team. Cat schematically is a player who kind of reminds me of Porzingis. Not even 2024 Porzingis, but just like they are two stretch 5s who are extremely good at shooting, of course, and bullying other players in the paint, just like mismatch demons, but they're also really, really, really good passers. So by just being on the court, they raise the ceiling on the offense, because of the fact that they have such a humongous player being able to do what a guard can do while still playing like a big. He isn't the defender that Porzingis is or was. He's actually pretty bad on the defensive end. Players tend to shoot at the rim more when he's on the court, but again, the Knicks have always been a super good, more offensive oriented team. So them getting them having Cat playing the way that he is super good for the team. Another thing that I saw, again, it's only been one game, but the usage rate for Brunson and Cat has gone up, which is really good as well, because I think that duo is going to be really good in the half court. And again, half court possessions are how you win the game in playoffs, and I think they're going to be able to generate so much offense that it's going to be hard to contain them. They just have so much PNR potential. But on the Hawks side, again, Hawks have a pick this year. They have a strong core with JJ, Dyson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and they have other really good, hopeful role players that look like they have good futures in the league, like Onyeka. I think Kuminga, even with his limited ability to handle the ball, he's still so young that it's hard to like kind of at least like dish him out so early. Not only that, do they have that, but they have good assets for the future, and they're in the playoffs after trading away, their franchise star and Trae Young. Honestly, whatever happens in the postseason for them is a bonus. Like this is still a super young team. They're not looking to win. They're just looking to kind of gauge where they are. And so again, like this is just much needed experience for them. This is going to be a great kind of path for them to follow and walk on, and learning experience for them. Again, this is like whatever happens, like as long as nobody gets fucking injured or some shit, it's going to be great for the team just to learn. But I do think that they still do need to improve on some things, especially Dyson. He's not a good scorer at all. Like he's like a terrible scorer, but he does impact the game offensively in different ways with his ability to cut. He's a really good passer, and he's really good at affecting the possession battle with his offensive rebounding. Jalen Johnson has also shown to be an elite engine on the team since the beginning of the season, but unfortunately both of them need to kind of work on the other side of the court. Dyson needs to work on his offensive side. Defensively, he's amazing, right? But like he needs to learn how to score. And I say that because I think as good as he is affecting the offensive kind of like, offensive situations in the game, I still do think you need to know how to score if you're going to be a starter in the league, because that archetype only can like do so much. Like a player that I always kind of think of when I think of Dyson Daniels is like Caruso. Caruso is that type of player where they're not going to be scoring at all greatly, but they can hit an occasional three. Not even occasional three. Like they'll turn up in the playoffs and hit like 2-3 threes in a row. They'll be amazing cutters and learn and get like steals and get like a putback and an offensive rebound for a putback. Like those are things Caruso does to not only impact the offensive side of the game, but just directly score while being an absolute menace on defense. And so I think if Dyson wants to kind of like improve his game and be a starter that Caruso currently isn't, because again, he's only a rotation player for OKC, even though Caruso would be a starter for sure on other teams. Again, like if Dyson continues the way he's playing, he could end up kind of being a player who kind of comes off the bench as a spark plug, less than being like a player who genuinely is like that for starter minutes. And then Jalen Johnson, last season was like a defensive god, and now he's like the complete opposite defensively, and it does affect him a lot. I think he was one of the best two-way players last year, and now he's kind of like I wouldn't even say he's a two-way player this year, unfortunately. I think he really has to work on the defensive side again. I think he has to learn how to juggle both sides like the way that he needs to, so that he could be the number one option on this team going forward, because I definitely do think that he could be. Either that, or he has to learn how to just be like a Luka level talent where he's just generating so many points that the offense that he's bleeding isn't affecting the team that much. Yeah. I do have the Hawks in 6, and I only say that because I know CJ could be really good in the clutch. And I also do know that, the explosive scoring from JJ, Dyson, Non, and Onyeka can, that is a very explosive team in terms of scoring. So I think anything can happen, but I still do have Knicks in 5 for sure. And the last matchup in the East, the most important one, because I do think this can be an upset. I do have Pistons versus Magic. I do have Magic in 6 or Pistons in 5. So I'm just going to read what I have because I kind of want to explain it before I yap about it. But Pistons not getting a second creator before the trade deadline hurt this team, and it's showing. and it showed a lot during that first game. Only one player on the team averages 1.5 plus isolation possessions a game. That's Cade. He's not very efficient from there. He's 0.98 points per possession, shooting 44.2%. Duran, the only other player to average 1 plus on ISO, or 1 plus ISO possessions, scores 1.05 points per possessions on 47.2%. But he also has a 20.4 foul frequency on those, meaning he gets fouled 20% of the time when he's ISOing. And of course, ISOs are not the only way to kind of describe or label or group shot creation, but the fact that there's only 2 players on that team who can genuinely ISO teams or ISO players and create their own shot off the isolation is disgusting. And I think, again, it's one of the reasons why that this upset might occur. I think, honestly, they should have been the team to get Kobe White. Either that or they should have had MPJ. Even though I don't know if MPJ's injury was like real or it was just like, to tank for the net pick. But I do think that had they gotten somebody else in the trade deadline who can actually, like, I think Kevin Huerter was good for them. I think he was pretty clutch, especially when Cade was out with his injury, which is also a big thing. Cade is coming back from an injury, so that's also affecting things. Even though he played great during his in the first game, but again, them not getting a shot creator like is really fucking them up, like, bad, because a lot of their again, it's a heliocentric team with ankle biters on defense and just a whole lot of play finishers, So it's a tough matchup for any other team, but the fact that they just don't, if Cade isn't on the court, then it's horrible for the team. The offense is going to look disgusting. But even when he is on the court, it's not enough because Cade has to do it all by himself. Another thing that the Magic did really well, and one of the reasons why I believe they won, and shout out Dealey for 3 for this, but he explained it way better than me, but they basically held Duran down. They allowed him to not get a lot of possessions at all. They made sure to get the ball out of his hands so he wasn't being able to create his own shots. I think he had like a usage rate of like 11%, which is like the second lowest he's had in his entire, I think, the season or career. I think it was the season. They let Duran shot attempts to a minimum, and they let the other while letting their offense eat. I think everybody had like double digit shot attempts for the Magic, which is like huge. They basically just allows K to score and not allow the Pistons second option to touch the ball often. And it works really well because, again, the Pistons, the main ball handler is Cade. In the regular season, Cade's usage is nearly at 30%, while the others are all in 25%. I think Durham was like 23%. I think Paul Reed was like around also 23%, and the rest were like all like below 20 or something like that. So, again, just knowing that combined with just stopping Duran is going to make it a lot easier for the Magic to contain Cade. Not only that, too, but I think offensively as well, the Magic always have been a more talented team on paper, and they've been one of the most talented teams on paper in the league since the beginning of the season. Again, they got Bane for a reason, and they had Paolo and Franz and Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs. So I think the upset is very much possible. If Paolo keeps playing the way he's playing now, especially, then it's also going to be better. Franz is slowly getting better as well, which is something I'm looking forward to because I think Franz is their best player, and I think that he is going to be the key to keep on like going on in the postseason. But yeah, I think honestly, I do think the Magic do win this, and if they do win this, I think it's going to be kind of eye-opening and disappointing for the Pistons fans and the Pistons team in general. But yeah. That's their Eastern Conference playoff predictions for the round one. And now we're gonna do the West. So, I'm gonna start from the bottom. Spurs versus Blazers. I have Spurs in 5 or Blazers in 7, which I don't really believe. I don't think the Blazers have a chance, honestly. I know Clingan is extremely big. I mean, extremely is extremely good. What's it called? The Clingan is extremely good in the paint as a rim and applies a lot of like rim deterrence, which kind of like, you know, you could hope that he would be good against Wemby, but he just wasn't. I didn't watch the full game, but I don't think Clingan had a chance against Wemby like at all. He just wasn't doing anything. That team, the Blazers do have a lot of length and size for Wemby, but it's just not enough at all. I saw some defensive numbers for the Blazers, and it says Drew and Thibault have a 96 defensive rating. And I think they had some rotations last night as well in the game, but this just wasn't enough. The Spurs are just too good. I think this is gonna be like an ass whipping of hell. I did put Spurs in 5 because I think the Blazers do have that kind of offensive power where they can take one. Like, especially if Shaedon Sharpe has a good game, because sometimes he'll just drop 30 out of nowhere. Denny Avia keeps on playing consistently. Scoot has been playing really good as well. Drew Holiday can just shoot the lights out sometimes. So I think they will take maybe one game just because of the fact that they do have the offense to be able to take one game. But I don't think they take more than one game. I think Spurs in 5. Nuggets versus Tims is my next one. I have Nuggets in 6 or Tims in 7. I don't have too much to say about this one as well, mainly because of the fact that Ant is injured. He is playing through, I think it's a runner's knee, which is the same thing that Curry had. And Curry was out like 2 months, and Ant hasn't been playing through it for the past maybe month and a half, maybe 3 weeks. And so I don't think he'll be in shape at all in the series, which I do kind of feel bad for him about, because I do think this team not only doesn't need Ant, but I do think that if he has a bad series, I do think people are gonna change their opinion on him. And I say that because I do think last year, if I remember, I did talk about how I thought the Tims did kind of have like an easier path to the Western Conference Finals, because they played the Lakers, who I will admit I did think that would be a much better matchup, but they dogged them. But then they played the Rockets, who was it the Rockets or the Warriors? No, they played the Warriors, who had an injured Curry. So, you know, it was a pretty easy matchup, especially the second round, because again, I think they beat the Warriors in 5, because again, Curry was injured, so like they literally didn't have anybody. They didn't have enough to kind of fight or play against them or win against them. So yeah, I do think that this matchup in particular will be a little bit kind of much harder for the Tims, again, because they don't have their number one player being healthy. I don't think Randall is a necessarily good player. I honestly think that Randall isn't, and Randall might be on the chopping block if they want to, you know, progress. I think they keep J-Mac, and they keep Ant, and maybe I think they keep Rudy Gobert, and I hope that they keep Berenjar. But I think if they move Randall, and I don't know who else, maybe Randall and Dante, or I don't know, but if they move off Randall, I think it'll be good for the team. But yeah, I'm just yapping about the future. But Yeah, the Timbers played horrible in game one. Starters were horrible. They shot like shit from three. Dante had his good shooting game. Gobert had a great offensive game, which makes it worse that they lost that first game because that's kind of like, two rarities happening at the same time and they still lost was not good. Jamal Murray had like a very efficient game, inefficient game. He had like he shot like 6 for 22, I think, but still ended the game with like the highest net rating on the team, or the highest net rating from the starters, which is a 3.6 net rating. So, yeah, I think again, like, it just goes to show that I do think that the Nuggets are going to actually like beat them, and I think they do them in 6. I did want to bring up Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson was a negative net player. He didn't score. He didn't shoot the best from 3. I think it was like 2 for 7, but he wasn't extremely inefficient. I'm curious as to what people are gonna say if the Nuggets get the chip, because I do feel like people kind of like when the trade was first made, Cam Johnson and BJ, like, obviously I think everybody was saying that was a huge upgrade for the Nuggets, but then I think because of injury from Cam Johnson and MPJ having such an electrifying shooting, stretch of shooting and scoring, that it did become like, maybe the Nuggets lost. And I think to end the season, a lot of people believe that the Nuggets did lose that trade. So I'm interested to see, maybe he could turn it around with his postseason performance. Because again, they traded him. Nuggets traded away MPJ because they wanted better April and May hoops, So if Cam Johnson is able to provide that, then amazing. Next matchup, I'm going to do Thunder versus Suns. I say Thunder in 5 or Suns in 7. So, first, I do think Suns have good ball handlers. They have enough ball handlers, or good enough ball handlers, to handle the pressure that OKC kind of enforces. However, they don't have good enough ball handlers to create their own shots, which does suck because I do think that Brooks, Jalen Green, and Devin Booker all are pretty good shot creators, or at least they have shown to be good shot creators. But it just isn't enough against this defense. I think it could be a size thing, because I do feel like, now that they're shorter, I think they're all like pretty much the same height, but I do think like Jokic, for example, when he goes against OKC, even though he wasn't having like extremely efficient games, I think his height made it harder for the shorter kind of wings that OKC has. It made it harder for them to kind of get on him and antagonize, or play defense on him the way that they do other guards. So I do think the size is kind of lacking because they run their offense through their guards, and I think running Devin Booker as a point guard, it just has not shown to be good, or something that they can be confident in. So I don't know. I think honestly, it's just they have to be able to keep up their 3-point shooting, because OKC does give up a very efficient 3-point shooting games against opponents. They usually let their opponents shoot 36.9% from 3, which is pretty good. And like I said, I think Suns have to take advantage of that. Their main rotational players average around 36% from 3, with about 46.6 attempts a game. So again, they just have to take advantage of that if they want to win. They have to keep the ball out of Dillon Brooks' hands. They have to take the ball out of his hands. As good as he is as a shot creator, he simply, I think he lets the pride get in the way sometimes, and he just does not know when to stop shooting the ball. And it's something that really fucks that team up, because he'll just take contested shot after contested shot, thinking that he's Shea, and he's not Shea on the scoring side. I think realistically, what they need to do if they want to win is they got to play Royce more. He has to be able to shoot the ball like ASAP. Like, he has to get the ball in his hands, shoot that bitch from anywhere, whether it goes in or not. Fuck the 3-point percentage. 3-point percentage, just shoot that bitch. I think Devin Booker has to stop running point and just allow himself to be the shot creator that he is, because I think running point against this team where it's not a motion offense is only gonna hurt the Suns more than OKC. And they have to let Jalen Green also get more looks, and just Dylan Brooks need less looks. And I think if they are to do that, maybe they could beat this OKC in 7. But yeah, I have Thunder in 5. OKC just need to keep playing the same way they're playing. It is disgusting, and I think I said this before. I think it's disgusting that this team can fucking employ Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, and then rotate one of those guys out and just put Alex Caruso in there. Like, what the fuck? Like, if I'm playing against that team, I would have cried on the court, I think, bro. I would have cried on the court. Bro, Cason Wallace playing defense on you, and then Alex Caruso next? Like, fuck off, bro. I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed. Not only that, but then they have AJ Mitchell, who's healthy now, and he's on OKC's top 3 in both net rating and on and off plus or minus on the team. He's essentially a mini SGA in the sense that they're able to create a lot of offense or produce a lot of offense while minimizing turnovers, which is a huge thing in this league. And AJ being able to do that, again, like when SGA is off, is like amazing. Like he really has been such a great pickup for this team that it kind of pisses me off, honestly, too. Like, I don't know, OKC just pisses me off. Like, I hate it. I hate that team. One more matchup, and this last matchup is Lakers versus Rockets. So I got Rockets in 6 or Lakers in 7. With Luka and Reeves injured and they're not coming back during the series, if they are to progress, the Lakers are to progress, it's all on Bron. And honestly, like I do think that this matchup will be extremely fun to watch. KD was injured in game 1, and I just saw a Shams report that supposedly he's dealing with like patellar bruising or whatever. So that could be something that really fucks him up, and maybe he misses more games. Who knows? Luke Kennard and Bron have a 7.8 plus net rating, and with Ayton added to that, they have a 19 plus 8 net rating. It's not too many minutes, not too big of a sample size, but it is something to look at. I think like the defensive rating was like below 100, or no, I think the offensive rating was like above 130 actually, and the defensive rating was like 110, I think, something like that. But yeah, I think the reason why that lineup works so well is because I think Bron always has been such like a computer of his processing and his playmaking ability. And I think having Kennard, who is schematically one of the most lethal forces in the league, because of like he doesn't even need to shoot 6 threes a game. Like, the fact that he has such a high field goal percentage from 3 is enough. And I think Bron understands that when they're on the court together, and I think that's why, like, honestly, I think it turns Bron on, knowing that he has such a lethal fucking force, like, on the weak side, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just stay over there, dickhead, like, just stay over there. We gonna cook some shit up. You know, Bron will have the ball in his hands at the top of the key and just go crazy. And so, Yeah, I think Braun is gonna be have like a lot of fun in this matchup with Kennard, and honestly, I think this is gonna work really well as it progresses. I think if the Lakers win today, then I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. They do win the series, which would be insane, and it makes you feel even bad, even worse with Rockets. Be like I said this before when the KD got traded, but that KD trade was a win now trade, and they lost Fred Van Vliet, I think, before the season started, and he's still not back. So you almost look at it as like a waste of a season from KD, because obviously, like, Amen did not develop the way you wanted him to develop. Jabari did not develop the way you wanted him to develop. Şengün did not develop the way you wanted to develop. Steven Adams also got injured too. So it's just like, it's all tough. It's all hard. And so they lost a lot of their offensive identity. And so because of that, like, it's hard for me to evaluate this team and kind of judge this team as it is, because they're missing so many key parts. Like, again, KD, if KD's off tonight, or is it tonight? I think they play tomorrow, actually. They don't play tonight. They play tomorrow. They play tomorrow. Fuck. Yeah. Okay, well, if KD plays tomorrow or doesn't play tomorrow, right, that's huge. And again, the Rockets are still missing. The fact that they're missing all of their, like, their really big, important offensive players, like, again, it makes it really hard to kind of judge the team. Yeah, and it's crazy because they had like like a Rockets identity type game last game, or during the Lakers, like against the Lakers. They had 21 offensive rebounds, which is like, I think the Lakers only had like 6 or some bullshit. So crazy. And Lakers are pretty good at defensive rebounding too. So I think if they continue to just play the way that they're playing, the Lakers could upset them. I do expect more from Jabari. I expect more from Jabari because I kind of just want him to be a better player, especially with KD being on the team and how I look at him as a mini KD. Yeah. It's difficult. I do think I do see the Lakers winning, which would be fucking crazy. Is the Lakers win and Braun somehow wills that team to the second fucking round? I mean, he's incredible. He's a GOAT. He always has been the GOAT, but it's like, you know what I mean? Sheesh. Anyways, that's it for today's episode of Eyes on the Ball. I'm gonna try to get this out probably tomorrow morning. Hopefully a little bit sooner. Probably not, though. Anyways, playoff basketball is here. I love playoff basketball. It is amazing. I love basketball. I always do. I always will. But yeah, I'm yapping. My bad. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.